Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible stories of pure brainpower and ingenuity to come out of the 20th century. It's a story about a machine that everyone thought was perfect, and about the few people who dared to prove them wrong.
And really, it all boils down to this one single question. How could one device, just a machine made of rotors and wires, come so dangerously close to deciding the fate of the entire world?
And maybe even more importantly, how did the brilliant, stubborn persistence of just a handful of codebreakers manage to turn that very machine against its own creators?
So let's start at the very beginning. Our story kicks off with the creation of a code that was designed to be, well, absolutely unbreakable. Meet the Enigma. Invented by Arthur Scherbius, this thing was a true marvel of engineering. By the time World War II kicked off, it was the beating heart of the German military machine, scrambling every secret order, every strategy, and every single report.
The way it worked was just devilishly clever. An operator would press a letter, and an electrical signal would zap through a series of spinning scramblers, hit a reflector, and then shoot back through the rotors on a completely different path. The result was what looked like a totally random substitution.
In this number, this really shows you the sheer scale of the challenge. With all the possible settings for the rotors and the plugboard connections, the machine had 150 quintillion possible combinations. That's 150 with 18 zeros after it. I mean, you can see why the Germans were so sure it was invincible.
But their belief in perfection? That was a fatal overconfidence, because hidden deep inside this fortress of complexity was a tiny hidden crack. It was a weakness so small that its inventor didn't even consider it a problem, but it would end up being the key to its downfall. There it is, the one single catastrophic flaw. A letter typed into an Enigma could become any other letter in the alphabet, except for itself. So the key takeaway here is this. If you typed in the letter W, you knew for an absolute fact that the encrypted letter would not be a W. In an ocean of nearly infinite possibilities, that one tiny piece of certainty gave the codebreakers their very first real foothold. And the first person to really take advantage of this was this man, Marian Rejewski, a Polish mathematician. Armed with documents stolen by a French spy, Rejewski used pure mathematics to do what was thought to be impossible. He figured out the internal wiring of the rotors. Rejewski's work was a monumental breakthrough, but the German war machine was growing, the encryption was getting more complex, and a new level of resources was needed. The battle moved to a top-secret location in England, Bletchley Park. This timeline shows the incredible progression. It all started with Rejewski's breakthrough, which let Poland build its own code-breaking machines. But then, in 1939, right on the brink of invasion, the Poles made a historic choice. They handed over everything, all their research, to the British and the French. The torch had been passed. And the man who picked up that torch was the legendary Alan Turing. He assembled a team of geniuses at Bletchley Park and started tackling the problem on an industrial scale. Turing's team took this fight to a whole new level. They realized they weren't just fighting a machine, they were fighting the people who operated it. They exploited common human errors, like the fact German operators often used lazy, predictable phrases, like weather reports. And then they built machines that could crunch through thousands of combinations a second, keeping pace with every upgrade the Germans introduced. The intelligence they gathered was given a codename Ultra, and it was a complete game changer. Ultra gave the Allied command an almost godlike view of the battlefield, letting them know German plans sometimes even before the German generals on the ground did. And the impact of this intelligence wasn't just tactical, it was world-changing. So what was the real-world impact? It comes down to this number, 3. Historians generally agree that ultra-intelligence shortened the war by at least 2 to 3 years. Just think about what that means. Millions of lives saved, all because a handful of codebreakers found a tiny crack in a supposedly perfect machine. One of the analysts who was actually there put it even more starkly. Without Ultra, the war could have dragged on until 1948. The work at Bletchley Park wasn't just some academic exercise, it was the difference between victory in 1945 and years more of global conflict.
And that, right there, is the ultimate irony of the Enigma story. Germany's most prized technological secret, the very symbol of its supposed superiority, became the exact instrument that engineered its own defeat.
In the end, Enigma is so much more than just an old machine. It's a powerful symbol of the endless battle between secrecy and discovery, a fight that, in our own digital age, is still going on with higher stakes than ever before. Enjoyed this breakdown? Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.